The moment we launched this game, I thought it was going to be another one of those low-budget horror titles. You know the type: dark menu screen, creepy background music, a warning that says something like play at your own risk, but really, it's just a gimmick. We were even laughing at the loading screen, making jokes about how it was probably going to crash before it even started. But almost instantly, I felt it. That gut punch you can't really explain. Like the air in the room got heavier the second the game opened. It wasn't flashy, no intro cutscene, no cheerful soundtrack. Just silence, dead silence, except for this faint static humming from the speakers, not loud enough to be normal, not soft enough to ignore, just there like it was waiting. I remember looking over at my friend and saying, "Okay, this already feels weird." And he just laughed it off, saying, "Come on, it's just another indie horror. Nothing's gonna happen." But my stomach was already sinking. I swear, I could feel my skin crawling before we even pressed a single button. The main screen was nothing but a glowing prompt. Build a kid. No tutorial, no menu options, no settings. Just those 3 words, build a kid. At first, we thought it was funny. Like, was this some kind of parody, a dark joke? We sat there staring at the screen, waiting for something else to pop up, but nothing did. Just that single command. I don't know why, but pressing enter felt like crossing a line. The kind of line you know you shouldn't cross, but you do anyway because curiosity eats at you. And the moment we did, the workshop appeared, a dimly lit room, a single bulb hanging overhead, casting long shadows across dusty shelves stacked with tools. On the far wall, a monitor glowed with a strange, unnatural light, waiting for us to begin. I swear, even though it was just a game, the atmosphere felt too real. Like the temperature in the room dropped a few degrees. My heart was beating faster than it should have for something that was supposed to be a joke. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just another creepy little indie game. This was something else. Something we weren't supposed to find, because the second his eyes opened, everything changed. It started off simple enough. The screen flickered, and then suddenly we were inside this workshop. Tools scattered everywhere. Hammers, saws, even things that didn't make sense, like surgical instruments mixed with toys. The shelves were lined with dusty boxes that looked like they hadn't been touched in years. The single hanging bulb swayed ever so slightly, like there was a draft in the room. But here's the thing: there was no draft. It was just moving on its own. Front and center was the monitor. On it, the words appeared again: "Design your kid." We laughed nervously. It almost felt like one of those silly doll maker games you find online. I mean, how scary could it be? So we clicked to start. At first, it gave us normal options: hair, eyes. Clothes, we were joking around: give him a giant nose, make him bald, put him in a bright green sweater. We were laughing at how dumb he looked. But every time we clicked randomize or tried to adjust something, the game resisted. We'd pick brown hair and it would glitch to jet black. We'd pick blue eyes and they'd snap back to this pale, washed-out gray. And the smile, no matter what we did, the game kept giving him that same awful smile. Too wide, too stiff, like it wasn't a child's smile at all, but something pretending to be one. At first, we thought it was just buggy coding. You know, maybe the devs didn't finish the game properly, but it didn't feel like a bug. It felt intentional. Like the game was forcing us to make him look that way. I remember saying, "Dude, what if the game only lets us build one kid?" My friend laughed, but the sound was nervous, shaky, and then, right on cue, the screen flickered. The kid's face filled the monitor. Pale skin, sunken eyes, that stretched grin staring at us, almost like he was daring us to finish. We tried to back out, hit escape, return to menu. Nothing worked. Every key we pressed just made the word create flash brighter at the bottom of the screen. Like we didn't have a choice anymore. We hesitated. I swear, my hands were trembling over the keyboard. My gut was telling me, don't do it. Don't press that button. But curiosity, stupid, dangerous curiosity, got the better of us. We hit create. The screen went pitch black. My stomach dropped. For a second, I thought maybe the game finally crashed. But then a sound, just a single word whispered through the speakers, so faint I almost thought I imagined it. "Thank you." And when the screen lit back up, the kid was standing there, not in the workshop, not on a character select screen. He was just there, in a dark room, standing perfectly still, staring at us, his head tilted ever so slightly, like he was listening. His eyes locked onto the camera as if he could see us. My throat went dry. I whispered, "Why does this feel so real?" And my friend didn't answer. He was just frozen, staring at the monitor with this pale look on his face. And then the kid smiled. At first, we just stared back at him. The kid didn't move, he didn't blink. He just stood in that dark room, his head tilted, his face stretched into that unnatural smile. The silence was unbearable, not even background music, no ambient noise, just this buzzing static, so low it almost blended with the hum of our PC. I leaned forward, half expecting him to suddenly lunge at the screen, but he didn't. He just stayed there, frozen, like he was waiting, and I swear his eyes followed us. Not the way game characters usually do, where the camera angle makes it look like they're watching you. No, it was different. His gaze was deliberate, heavy, like he was aware of us sitting in that room. I tried to laugh it off, saying something dumb like, "Wow, this is the worst kid creator ever." But my voice cracked. I didn't even realize how tense I was until I heard myself. My hands were clammy, my heart hammering against my ribs, and then it happened. The lights in the game flickered, just for a second. His figure glitched, static lines ran across his body, like he was glitching out. But at the exact same time, the light in our room flickered too. Our actual room, that single bulb hanging above us, buzzed and dimmed, then flared back up. We both froze. That wasn't possible. Games don't control lights, and yet there it was, perfectly timed, perfectly synced. I whispered, "Did you see that?" And before my friend could answer, the kid moved. It wasn't a normal movement. He didn't walk. He didn't animate smoothly. One frame he was at the far end of the room, the next frame he was closer, just closer, like the game had skipped time. I gasped. My friend cursed under his breath, leaning back from the monitor. And then it happened again. Flicker. Static. Closer. One moment he was standing across the room. The next, he was right up against the camera. His face filled the entire screen. Pale, stretched grin, hollow gray eyes staring straight into ours. My whole body went cold. My instinct was to shut it down. I reached for the keyboard, hammering escape, Alt F4, anything. Nothing worked. The cursor froze. The keyboard stopped responding. And then, through the speakers, I heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, not in-game breathing, real breathing, coming from behind us. We froze in silence. Neither of us wanted to turn around. Every muscle in my body screamed at me not to look, not to move. The sound grew louder, closer, like someone was standing right there, behind our chairs, leaning in. I whispered, "Tell me that's the game." My friend didn't answer. He just shook his head, and then the monitor flickered again. This time, the kid wasn't just looking at us. His lips moved, slowly, deliberately. No sound came out at first, just the awful image of his smile stretching even wider as his mouth opened. And then, in a voice so distorted it was barely human, we heard him whisper, "You built me wrong." My stomach dropped. I swear, my heart skipped a beat. My friend slammed his hands on the desk, shouting, shut it down," but the screen wouldn't close. The mouse wouldn't move. We were trapped. Forced to stare at him, the kid tilted his head further, his voice warping into static. "Fix me." The speakers crackled, the monitor glitched, and then darkness. The whole game shut off in an instant. For a second, we thought it was over, but then the bulb above us flickered again, and in that split second of dim light, I could have sworn I saw a figure in the corner of the room, small, still. Watching, we sat there in silence, barely breathing. The monitor was black, the game wasn't running. But the room didn't feel safe. You know that feeling when you know you're not alone, that primal, gut-wrenching sense that something is watching you, even if you can't see it. That's exactly how it felt. My friend whispered, barely moving his lips, "Did you see that?" And I nodded. Because I had. That faint outline in the corner of the room, short, still, human-shaped, it had to be him. I grabbed the mouse, shaking it furiously, trying to bring the desktop back up. Nothing. The screen stayed pitch black, but the monitor's light was still glowing faintly, like it was alive. Then it flickered, just once, and there he was again, not in the game, not on a character screen, just staring at us through static. His face stretched across the monitor like he had climbed inside the wires. My heart was pounding so loud I swear I could hear it echoing in my ears. I tried to laugh, tried to convince myself it was a bug, a corrupted crash screen, but then he moved. Just like before, no animation, no transition, just snap. One moment, his face was distorted across the monitor. The next, his eye was pressed against the camera feed, and that's when I realized it wasn't gameplay anymore. The monitor was showing our webcam. Our own faces stared back at us on the screen. Two pale, terrified kids sitting in a dark room. And behind us, clear as day, was the figure, the wrong kid, standing in the corner, smiling. I nearly fell out of my chair. My friend yanked the webcam cord out so hard it scraped against the desk. The screen went black again. For a second, I thought we killed it. I thought it was over, but then knocking. 3 slow, heavy knocks echoed through the room. Not from the monitor, not from the speakers, from the wall behind us. 1, 2, 3. We froze, staring at each other with wide eyes. My throat was so dry I could barely swallow. My friend whispered, "It's not the game anymore." Before I could respond, the monitor flared back to life. Static erupted across the screen. And then his voice came through, distorted and broken, like the speakers were straining just to let the words out. "You built me wrong, now fix me." We both jumped back from the desk. I swear, in that moment, I wanted to run. Just leave everything behind, sprint out the front door, and never look back. But my legs felt like they were cemented to the floor. Then the lights started flickering, not just in the game. In the room, on, off, with every flash, his figure snapped closer on the screen. First across the room, then halfway, then standing in front of the camera, and finally, his face filled the entire monitor again, teeth bared in that sickening grin. We tried to shut the whole PC down, power button, surge protector, even pulling the plug, nothing worked. The fan kept spinning, the monitor kept glowing. It was like the machine itself didn't belong to us anymore. And then, as if to prove the point, the kid whispered something new, not just static this time, words we could hear clearly, almost too clearly. "I'm already here," that was it. Every hair on my body stood on end. I couldn't move, couldn't think. The air felt suffocating, like we were breathing in static instead of oxygen. My friend slammed the laptop shut in desperation. The room went black again. For a moment there was nothing. Silence, pure, empty silence, and then faintly, from the darkness, footsteps. Small, slow. Coming from inside the room, the sound of those footsteps, I'll never forget it. Small, uneven, like a child shuffling across a wooden floor, but here's the thing, we didn't have wooden floors. Every step still echoed through the room, heavy enough to make my chest tighten. I whispered, "Do you hear that?" But I already knew he did. My friend's face was pale, his eyes wide, fixed on dark corner we'd seen earlier. Then it stopped, dead silence. We sat frozen, every muscle in our bodies tense, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And just when I thought maybe I had imagined it, a new sound came, the microphone, our microphone. It clicked on by itself. You know that faint buzz when a mic goes live, that static hiss. It filled the room, and then a voice came through. Not from the monitor, not from behind us, from inside the speakers, our own voice. It was my voice, low, distorted, saying words I never said. "Why did you build me wrong?" I shoved my chair back, my heart hammering in my throat. My friend grabbed the mic, yanked it out, and threw it across the room, but the voice didn't stop. It got louder, clearer. It wasn't my voice anymore. It was his, that same whisper we'd heard before, crawling out of the speakers like a living thing. "Fix me." And then the screen lit up again, not the game, not the desktop, the webcam feed. We saw ourselves, sitting there, terrified, and in the feed he was standing right between us. I swear, I felt cold air brush the back of my neck, like someone was leaning over me. My body screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. I couldn't move. My friend shouted, grabbed the surge protector, and slammed the switch. The entire PC went black. Silence. For a moment, I thought we finally did it. I thought we killed it. But then knock, 3 more knocks, louder this time, directly on the desk. 1, 2, 3. We both jumped back so fast our chairs tipped over. My pulse was pounding so hard I felt lightheaded. I don't even remember standing up. I just know we backed into the farthest wall, staring at the dark screen, waiting for it to flicker on again, and then, without warning, it did. The kid was there, filling the screen, but he wasn't static anymore. He wasn't glitching. He was moving, breathing. His chest rose and fell, slow and deliberate, like he was alive. His grin stretched further, impossibly wide, splitting his cheeks until they bled. His eyes rolled back, then snapped forward again, staring straight into us. The speakers crackled once more, and his voice came out clear as day. Not distorted, not whispering, just a child's voice, calm, soft. I'm in your house. I can't describe the feeling in that moment. Terror doesn't even come close. It was like reality itself had bent. Like the screen wasn't a screen anymore. It was a window, and whatever we had built had found a way through. My friend shouted, slammed the monitor face down onto the desk, and for a split second, I thought it was over, but before we could even catch our breath, the lights in the entire house went out. Total darkness, and in that silence, in that pitch-black void, we heard him breathing right in front of us. The lights were gone, the entire house drowned in blackness so complete, I couldn't even see my own hands. My chest rose and fell like I'd just run a marathon, every breath shallow, ragged, and that breathing, oh God, that breathing, it was right in front of us. I couldn't see him, but I knew he was there, inches away. The sound was too real, too close. My friend whispered, "Don't move." His voice cracked so badly it barely came out. For what felt like forever, we stood frozen, pressed against the wall, waiting for, I don't even know what. Then, suddenly fingers, cold, small, pressing against my wrist. I yanked my arm back so hard I nearly stumbled, but the touch it lingered, like it left a mark deeper than skin, and then, light, the bulb above us snapped back on, flooding the room with its weak yellow glow. My eyes darted everywhere, the desk, the shelves, the floor, but he wasn't there, the monitor, though the monitor was glowing again. Slowly, letters began to crawl across the black screen, one at a time. Thank you for building me. My stomach dropped. My friend whispered, don't read it. But my eyes couldn't look away. The words shifted, flickered, twisted into new ones. Now I'm real. The monitor went white, blinding. I shielded my face, but when I opened my eyes again, the room was normal, completely normal. The tools, the shelves, the monitor, all gone. Just our plain, empty desk with the unplugged PC sitting dark and dead. We stood there, stunned, trying to figure out if any of it had actually happened. I kept telling myself it was some insane hallucination, that maybe the stress and the static and the flickering lights just got to us. But then we noticed the webcam light. It was still on, even though the computer was off. The little red LED stared at us like an unblinking eye. I leaned in slowly, terrified of what I might see, and that's when I realized it wasn't just on, it was recording. We yanked the plug out of the wall, completely killing everything. The light went out, the room finally fell silent, but the damage was done. The next morning, when we finally built up the courage to turn the PC back on, the game was gone. No files, no folder, nothing. But there was one new video saved on the drive, just one. We opened it. The footage showed us, sitting there, terrified, looking into the screen, but the thing that made my blood run cold wasn't us. It was him, standing between us, smiling at the camera like he had been part of us the whole time. We deleted the file instantly, unplugged everything. We haven't played since, and we won't, not after what happened. Safe to say, we're never building another kid again, at least not in that game. So if you ever stumble across it online, if you ever see that prompt telling you to build a kid, don't click it, don't play it. Don't let your curiosity get the better of you like it did us, because once you hit that button, you'll realize exactly what we did. We built the wrong kid, and what happens after, you'll never be ready for it. And that, my friends, is why we're never touching that game again, especially not at night.